Hello, it's 6:30 on Tuesday night, so it's time again for what we're reading. Tonight, I have two people who help put books on our shelf. They work in it totally just went out of my mind, in the collection services department in our service center in Comstock Park. And that department picks out the books and then process them when they arrive so that they are shelf ready when they get to the branches. And they do so much work behind the scenes. It is amazing. And they're going to talk about that at the end of the show. So kind of go behind the scenes at the end of today's show. But first, I'm dying to hear, because they have the best taste in books, both of them. So I'm dying to hear what they're reading. I'm going to start with Allie. And Allie's a librarian at our service center. She's a collection development librarian. So she picks things out for us all. Allie, what are you reading?
Okay, right now, see if I can get the whole
Yeah, I think we've got
image
it.
in there. I'm reading World of Wonders by Amy Nezukumatatil, and it's in praise of fireflies, whale sharks, and other astonishments. And a little bit about this. It's I love memoirs, and it's a little bit. It's a lot of essays that are been collected about inspiration that she took, kind of coming of age stories, um, inspiration that she took from the natural world. So animals and plants, things she noticed that helped her deal with discrimination as a child, or just ways that nature helped her cope. And
Oh,
that's kind of a genre that I like. It's very there is some jargon in there because she does do a great deal. She's very interested in the natural world, and she does go into it, talking about proper species names and details of very specific details about the animals. Um, but there are also these beautiful coming of age stories built into that,
really? And they're all
and
about her, or are they about different people?
primarily her sister, her mom, her dad, her family. They grew up in different areas of the U.S. Her mom is Filipina, and her dad is from India. And her and her sister growing up, they had some. They grew up in the Midwest. They moved to the West. She also lived in New York for a time, so moved around quite a bit. And she always had things in the natural world that helped her cope. And this is kind of these touch stones in her life that she reflects on.
I think
So
that's
it's
so fascinating right now, especially because I feel like during COVID, so many people have, been outside. We're
mhm,
running out of, the sports stores can't keep anything in stock. People are getting outside. I think that's a way of coping with what we're going through now is the
mhm,
natural world.
mhm, very much so. And some of the stories there about things like trees, or ways that certain plants have adapted to things. Other stories are about animals that you might not think about very often, like a narwhal, or this. There are also illustrations in this too. They're not by Amy, but they're by an artist called Fumi Nakumara, and they're peppered throughout. Each essay has a little illustration to go along to talk about either the plant or animal that it's describing. So that's also another great way to help you remember these stories. But lots of fascinating detail. I love all these geeky animal things, and it really does stick with you because of the description she gives. So um, some of it's a little bit on the edge of humorous,
Oh,
but
okay.
not over the top. Mostly a lot of bittersweet, but beautiful too. She is also a poet, so the language is beyond. There's the jargon, some jargon, but there's also a poetry to it too. So
Oh, tell me that title one more time, because I want to read this
yes,
now.
yep. And it's World of
World of Wonders.
Wonders. So let me see if I can. Sorry,
So
get
if you're
this
looking in the
in
catalog, you just
here.
put in World of Wonders and then her first name, Aimee. Don't
That's
even
right.
try to spell the last name.
Right. Yep.
Our catalog will not find it if you misspell it.
Yep.
Fabulous. So also I have Liz, GK, next to Allie. And Liz is actually Allie's boss, so Allie's on her best behavior today.
And she's a great employee, pretty easy to supervise her. She doesn't get in too much trouble.
Liz
So
is our collection services department at the Service Center. Liz, what are you reading?
So I am reading, this is the hardest part of this, is trying to get your book on the screen.
It is.
Be My Guest by Priya Basil, and it's reflections on food, community, and the meaning of generosity. And it's also a memoir.
Wow.
So, well, actually, it's in our social sciences section because it's related to food. So I really like food, and I really like hearing about people's stories about food and how food has affected their lives. And that is very much what this story, this book of essays is about. So Priya Basil, she grew up in Kenya, she grew up in India, she grew up in Great Britain, and now she lives in Germany. So she's lived in a lot of different places, and she grew up in the Sikh religious background. So she has some experiences with food from that tradition as well. So she talks about how food and like being a host, being a guest is different depending on the culture that you're in, but how it's all very much the same, that food is really a way to show people that you care and to build trust, sense of community, family. So they're just really lovely essays about her life and her travels and different people and communities that she has encountered.
I love that you're both reading memoirs that are in essay format. I feel like those are so popular right now. I'm from the Amy Van Andel branch, and we just opened this branch. And it's very fascinating to watch which books are picked up first, which collections are really popular here. We've got a great variety of new books, but I'm telling you, nonfiction is going like hotcakes here. So, I mean, people want to read about other people, I think, right now.
Well, and I think the essay is a really nice, a memoir book that is set in the essay format is a really nice way to do that, because you can read one essay and stop. If you don't have a lot of time, or you don't feel like you can sit and read a whole book cover to cover, it's a great way to just read a little at a time and stop. So they're a great way to do that, and just a great way to learn about people's lives and other cultures. I'm always interested to find out more.
Okay. And Allie, you said you've got more books that are kind of similar to your first book.
I do, and I was thinking about it, and I might need you guys to help me come up with the last names of these authors, because I didn't happen to write that down, and a lot of them are escaping me at this time. But there's Braiding Sweetgrass, and that one came out in 2013, but that one is phenomenal. I'd recommend that to anyone. She's got a very approachable style too, yet she's also extremely scientific. If you're into the kind of, if you like memoirs, she approaches that, but then she also, hers, sometimes, yes, it's nature as teacher, but she as a professor kind of asks her students, one of these stories really stuck with me. What do you do for the earth? What do you do for the environment? That's kind of one of the questions in her book. But Native American woman, her first name is Kim, and her last name
Robin Wall.
Oh, Robin Wall
Kimmerer.
Kimmerer. Okay,
Yeah.
there was a Kim in there somewhere. Apologize for that. And H is for hawk. Little different, but also kind of.
Just a second, Allie.
Sure.
So sorry to interrupt, but I have to tell everybody, and if you watch the show, I'm all about the KDL Core collection, and Braiding Sweetgrass is in the KDL Core collection. Yep. And that is a collection of books that we picked out for those just not sure what you want to read, looking for one of the big books that we all love and recommend that are still really popular with KDL patrons. And they've got a big sticker on the side that says KDL Core, and this is one of those books. So look for the Core books; they're fantastic. Sorry, Allie, had to plug that because you're reading the Core. And what's your next one?
H is for Hawk is in there. And I think a lot of people are familiar with that one, but if you wanted to read that, forgot about it, maybe now's the time to go back. Another one that's kind of in that area. And then there was one that I read that's somewhat similar. It's definitely coming of age, definitely natural world, definitely some discrimination in there, but a little bit different. It's called Freckled. And and I can't come up with the author's last name off the top of my head, but it's a girl who grows up in Hawaii to some surfer hippie parents and has a very unconventional childhood and really a lot of survival kind of things. And definitely it involves the natural world, as a character, because that place is such a big part of the story for her. There's some animals involved, definitely dogs and horses that she becomes quite close to, but that's another good one, and that's Freckled, and I can't think of the last name right now.
Meal.
Yes. Yep. So I really like that one, especially in the winter, because it's set in Hawaii. It's nice to kind of have that, in your brain when you're freezing here in Michigan. So.
Nice.
Who was the author on that again, Penny?
Toby Neal, Neal. First name Toby.
And she also writes mysteries, I think.
Really?
But I'm not sure if she's writing under a different name, something like that. But
interesting. I love Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Allie and I have traded stories about our little vacations in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So you've both been to Hawaii?
Not at the same time.
Well, but I've never been to Hawaii, so that's something that I can look forward to, hopefully.
Well, you should read that book list.
For sure.
Under the covers.
It helped me through this winter.
And you've got another book, Liz. What you got?
I do. This one's fiction. So Your House Will Pay by Steph Cha. This one, Your House Will Pay. So this is fiction, and it's pretty. It's not really gritty, I guess. It's just, it's striking. It definitely kind of hits to the core. It is a story that goes back in time to the Rodney King riots in Southern California. That's where it starts out. And then we travel into the present day, and we meet characters, Grace Kim and Sean Matthews. Grace is part of the Korean American community in Southern California, and Sean Matthews is African American. And we find out that they have a shared story that rips families apart, basically. Something that happened to Sean's family that relates back to Grace's family, and ties them into what happened during the Rodney King riots. And it's just, it brings up generational racism, generational trauma, but it also really makes you think about how we're all the same, that we have these what look like very different lived experiences, but we ultimately are tied together as humans. But yeah, it's a little bit of a tough read, but it definitely makes you think, and it's got that, it puts you into that. I mean, to say that it's historical, I guess for me, I'm not that young, but for somebody who's in their 20s, that's pretty far back in history. And to think about the passion that was ignited in the city of Los Angeles, and just anger and hostility and those feelings, and how we very much are experiencing those same feelings now. So,
yeah. Is it a recently written book, or was it written?
It's 2018. Okay. So yeah, written before before some of the most recent events. You doing okay there, Penny?
I'm coughing.
It's a lot of pollen out now.
I am outside in our beautiful courtyard. Yeah. And you can literally see the pollen flying around. And I probably should have thought of that. I'm going to take a little gulp of something. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. definitely. So we can talk a little bit about, do you
What
want
was
us to
what
talk a
was
little bit about what we do here at the
Yes.
Service Center for a minute? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Allie, do you want to talk a little about your current role as collection development librarian and
Sure.
how we go about selecting books for our patrons?
Sure. Right now, I select DVDs, ebooks, e-audiobooks, and I'm part of a team with 5 people on it. So we all kind of have our collections and genres broken down in order for separate things. Um, we use help from vendors to select materials. We're always looking at what's hot. We're always looking at different bestseller lists, award winners, um, different professional sources, whether it's school library journal, Publishers Weekly, or we're looking for through popular sources like People or Entertainment Weekly. We also rely on our patron recommendations. We use those. We take those really seriously at KDL. And we do a great deal of, purchasing from those as much as we can within the realm of being a popular materials library. So we really do try and bring in, mainly the best of the best for our patrons, but we have a pretty, we try and have something that everybody's going to be inspired by and enjoy. So, we do our best. We have there are 400,000 people in our service population. So that's quite a bit to provide collections for. So it's a lot of work goes into that. A lot of people behind the scenes too, which Liz is my new manager, and so she's learning all about what happens behind the scene and can maybe share a little bit about, once we order those books and they come in, what happens.
Well, I'm going to jump in and ask you guys a numbers question because I'm mean
Sure.
and rotten.
Maybe.
Tell me how many books KDL has?
I'd say it's around 800,000 physical books right now. And then we have about 150,000 ebooks and e-audiobooks that are in an actual collection. Some of those expire and we have to repurchase those. Publishers charge quite a bit for ebooks and e-audiobooks. And I could talk a lot about that, and I bet Liz could now too. Different platforms offer all kinds of different models for libraries, but they definitely they are costly resources.
Don't really understand that if you have an ebook, why can't we all read them all at the same time?
Right, and there are some models that allow for that, but publishers aren't necessarily always very willing to share those, especially with the bestsellers. They're opening up a little more here and there. They're trying different things. It's still very much an evolving field, an evolving area. So it's always changing. We're always trying to do the best with what we have, leverage things the best we can, and serve our patrons the best we can. And it's really challenging right now. But I don't know, let Liz maybe speak a little on that, or what?
Say you guys did such a great job, as Amy Van Andel Library shows. You started from 0 books and completed this collection. Liz, talk a little bit about what your staff did to get this library.
Yeah, so coming out of being home for a little bit during the pandemic, we came back and we really hit the ground running here at the Service Center. For the Amy Van Andel Branch, we started purchasing materials in September with the hopes for January or February opening, and 12,000 books and DVDs and CDs, all and beyond books materials like our iPads and all those materials had to be purchased for the Amy Van Andel Branch. So Allie and her colleagues, the collection development staff, they worked really hard to put together all those materials for the branch. And then my collection services team, they took all of those materials and they put all of the labels and tags, and they cataloged them so that they become part of our catalog, and got them all beautiful and ready to go to come to the Amy Van Andel Branch. So yeah, it's a labor of love, but I'm so proud of all of the people that I've worked with on this project. They've done such a great job, and Penny was really, really inspiring in the process, and was really actually very helpful because she helped collection development make a plan for the kinds of materials that they wanted to have at the branch. So that was great, as well as our KDL core collection. I'll talk about the core collection again, our perennial favorites. We piloted that at the Amy Van Andel Branch, so we got to see, they got the first peek. So every day we have those, we process and we send out the delivery that brings all those holds that people place into our branches.
I think that's one thing, I'm sorry to toot our own horn, but that makes KDL such a great place is that all of us work together so well, and everyone is good at what they do, and we all come together and with such passion for what we do. So it's a fabulous place to work, and you guys are great to work with. Thank you for coming on the show and telling us all what you're reading. You guys have a standing invitation to come back at any time and tell me what you're reading. And thank you for all the books and everything you do for KDL. Allie's itching to say one more thing.
I am. What are you reading, Penny?
Oh, see, she had to get that in.
Yep.
I am reading from one of my favorite things that KDL offers, and I'm going to try to get this on the screen. There's a book club in a bag, and it's heavy because if you check one of those out, you get enough copies of the book for everyone in your book club. This one comes with 14 books, 12 regular books, and 2 large print for anyone in your book club like me with these Coke bottles. We've got the large print version, and we're reading All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. And I checked out this book club in a bag because we are going to be talking about this book here in our courtyard at the Amy Van Andel Library this Friday at noon. So if you're in the neighborhood and have read the book, stop by to chat. Or if you read fast, I've got a whole bag full of books. You can run in and grab a copy and read it quick and hang out with us in our courtyard and talk about one of the most beautiful books I've ever read, which takes place primarily in Paris in World War II. And it tells the story of a blind girl and a young German soldier and how they're destined to come together in a very strange conflagration of events, frightening, and Allie, throw something in. You've read that too.
It's been quite a while since I read that one, but definitely, it's some war is the backdrop. I mean, there's a lot of challenges that come with that, and definitely, it's just been quite a while since I read that. So your readers are going to have to read it and find out why everybody has loved that one for so long, and
it is also a core book because it is still being checked out and still being loved. So come and talk about it on Friday.
Is that a 2016 Penny?
Oh, I think it's
older than that.
It's been a while.
Because
I still haven't read it.
I remember I book talked it when it first came out, and that was on, I think, Wood TV. Came out 2014.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess I should get reading.
And still going out. So come check out the new books and the old favorites, and come see us next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Penny.
Thanks for coming.
Bye. Bye, everybody.